there! Welcome back to My Hot Kitchen. I'm Wendy, and our little show is all about teaching you how to make delicious meals at home for a romantic date night in. Tonight's feast is influenced by the flavors of Thailand and Southeast Asia. We'll kick it off with handheld salads, for the main course, beef curry, and for dessert, coconut lime petit fours. Let's kick off this feast by getting the petit fours going. So what you're going to need is a 1/4 cup of butter, and over that you're going to sift 3/4 plus 1/8 cup of flour, and a 1/2 cup of sugar, and 3/4 plus 1/8 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I know those measurements are a little bit funky, but just roll with me on it. You want to sift them together to blend the leavening and the flour and the sugar together, and also to remove any lumps that may have formed in your flour. And since this is a fun recipe that's really easy to do, you can do it all in one bowl. Crack 1 egg into it, and add 1/4 cup of milk. And then just blend it all together. Start by mixing up the egg into the butter, and then fold the rest of the ingredients in. And then, just as the ingredients have folded together, you'll want to zest a lime right into that. And when you're zesting the lime, work in smooth lines down the lime, and work to just get the top green layer off. Once you go into the white part, the zest starts to get a little bit bitter and then doesn't taste so good in your cake. So this is a really easy recipe to make. It's a great recipe to use if you're a first-time home cake baker, or if you've been using box cakes as your medium of cake making in your kitchen. You can make this in one bowl, and it's super fast and super easy. And believe me, once you've tried making your cakes homemade, you'll never want to go back to a packaged mix again. Just gonna scrape off the bottom of my grater here and make sure I get all the zest into the cake. And then I'm also gonna add a little bit of food coloring just to suggest to the eater what it is that they're eating. I'm gonna be adding 3 drops of green food coloring and 2 drops of yellow. They'll blend together and form a nice lime-like color. Blend these together. Just love watching the colors blend into the dough. Well, that looks great. So now I'm going to take my 8x8 baking pan here, which I've prepared by greasing it with a little bit of butter and then sprinkling a little flour in it. That's going to prevent the cake from sticking into the pan. And I'm just going to pour this batter out and spread it out so it bakes nice and evenly. This is going to taste really, really good. What a great way to harness the flavors of lime and coconut that you find in a lot of Southeast Asian cooking into a delicious little cake. Giving it a little spread here for even baking. So a couple important points to call out about cake baking at home. It's very helpful to make sure your butter and your milk and your eggs are all at the same temperature. So, let them sit out for an hour or so. Come up to room temperature. Another great thing to think about is you can always use cake flour for a more delicate crumb. Looks great. I'm going to get this in the oven now. I have my oven preset to 350 degrees, and I'll be baking my cake for about 20 minutes. It has been 20 minutes, and I'm pretty sure that I smell the cake being done. So let's give it a test here, just to make sure. A couple ways to tell if a cake is done. 1, if you poke it in the middle and it springs back lightly, then it's done. And 2, just for a double check, insert a toothpick right in the middle, and it should come out clean like that. All right, now let's see about getting this cake out of its pan. So I'm just going to invert it over here on a cooling rack. Give it a little force so it comes out, and let it sit there and cool off. In the meantime, I'm going to get the glaze going for it. So I will be using 3 cups of powdered sugar and about 2 ounces of coconut milk to make this delicious glaze. Scrape out the inside of my little shot glass here just to make sure I get all the coconut milk out of it. It is thick stuff to work with. Oh, so yummy though. And then here is the fun part. So what you're gonna do is just whisk those 2 ounces of coconut milk into your 3 cups of powdered sugar, and you'll see how they just blend together really quickly to make a nice little glaze. It's pretty incredible how little liquid it takes to loosen up powdered sugar. Consistency that you want from this glaze is a nice coating consistency. You want something that's going to pour over the top of the cake and coat it entirely so that it keeps the cake fresh for a couple days while you and your sweetie enjoy your petit fours. Once I have the coconut worked into most of the powdered sugar, I'm going to add the next ingredient that's going to loosen it up, and that's going to be some squeezes of lime juice. I'm going to use that same lime. I just cut it into segments. The juice inside is still good, even if the peel doesn't look so pretty anymore. There we go. Work with that for a little bit. I'm gonna get the goop out of my whisk here. Now, how much lime juice you're gonna need in addition to the coconut milk is gonna vary based on atmospheric conditions in your kitchen. You know, like humidity is gonna be a main factor there. Work it until you see that the lumps have been whisked out of it. So you wanna see a nice pouring off consistency like that. And then the next step is to warm it up. You want to warm it up for a couple reasons. 1, to further thin it down, and 2, to kind of cook the cornstarch that's present in the powdered sugar. All right, let's see how this is doing now. So I didn't quite bring it up to a boil, and that's fine. Just want to thin it down. That's your whole point there. See how much looser that is? That's great. That's a beautiful consistency to work with. So now the next step is to go ahead and cut up the cake into little squares. So I'm going to pull it off its little cooling rack here and put it on the counter. And then these edges are kind of rounded, so I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of those. These make nice little snacks. The petit four is traditionally a very square, highly decorated, tasty little bite-sized cake. So that is why I'm cutting off these rounded edges, because they are not square. Don't worry about any little pieces that find their way off. Go ahead and set those aside. And then commence with cutting it into little cubes. And start by cutting it in half, both directions. Break that down into cubes from there. This way I get a nice even-sized little bite. Using a serrated knife here and a very soft touch. Excellent. Now I'm going to set up my little assembly area here. I'm going to scoot all these cute little cake bites over there. My frosting here. A little bit of toasted coconut right here. Give the frosting another little whisk. Keep it all in suspension. Pull it out because it's going to be in the way. And take a fork and very gently dip the cake, both sides, all sides really, into the icing. Making sure to cover all of the crumbs. That's what's going to keep the cake fresh. Allow it a moment to drip off. Place it on a rack that you prepared with a piece of parchment or a silicone mat or something else to catch the drips underneath it. Pile on the coconut. All right, I am down to my last little petit four. Traditionally, petit fours are covered with a really labor-intensive frosting called fondant. And while that's delicious and all, it does take a lot of time. So if you use my easy frosting here in this simple one bowl cake, you'll look like a pastry chef to your sweetie in no time flat. So those are done. You want to let them set until the frosting becomes firm and not sticky anymore before you plate them or feed them to your sweetie. So let's get started on those delicious salad rolls. These are one of my favorite items to order in like a Thai food restaurant. You're gonna wanna start with these spring roll skins. They're made out of either tapioca flour or rice flour. Either one will work fine. Then dunk it in a little warm water to moisten it up, allow the drips to drip off of it, and set it on a cutting board, or if you like, a towel to catch the moisture. I'm gonna do 2 at a time here to speed up my production a little bit. These are really fun because they go from being papery to moldable in just a few seconds. Now what I'm doing here is just kind of rubbing the excess water across the surface to ensure that it soaks it up evenly and ensure that all the edges are evenly moistened. Looks like this one is ready to go. So I'm going to start by adding a few little shreds of delicious butter lettuce, a couple little sprigs of carrot, little slices of cucumber, for crunch some yummy chow mein noodles, for spice some radishes, a couple little leaves of cilantro. Get off my finger and onto my roll, and then a few little bites of yummy, yummy little bay shrimp. Then I will take the sides, and fold them over, and take this bottom flap and fold it up, and gently squeezing, roll it up all the way until I found the top. And these skins are so awesome because they just hold together. I'm gonna go over here and work on my second one. I'm gonna work about 1/3 of the way up towards the middle, a few shreds of lettuce. Could also substitute spinach or some other sort of green that you like. Love these because it's like a whole salad that you can hold in your hand. So much fun. Seems to make it a lot easier if you fold in the sides first. Gives you sort of a foundation to fold that bottom flap up. Squeezing it gently. And then it's time to do a couple more skins. You can make as many of these as you like. I'm going to make about 4 each. All right, these delicious salad rolls are ready to go, so I'm ready to whip up a little dipping sauce. So I have 4 tablespoons of sugar and 2 ounces of rice vinegar. Choose the unseasoned if you're given a choice. Oh, a nice sprinkling of sesame seeds and some chili flake. And I'm gonna grind up into this. Regular old chili flake works too. And then I'm gonna whisk this together until I see that all the sugar is dissolved. And the end result is gonna be a spicy, sweet, zingy, yummy, yummy sauce. And then season it up to taste with just a couple little drops of soy sauce. Give it a little taste. So good, that's gonna be delicious with the salad rolls.
Woo!
Hey, you're just in time.
This looks yummy.
I made a salad.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. Yummy little zingy, sweet sauce. Is it good?
Oh, that is so good.
Yay. Going back for more?
Follow me.
Okay. Well, that was a delicious way to start off the meal. Now my appetite's really ready to go. So I'm gonna get the curry going. Before I do that, I'm gonna start the jasmine rice. So I have 1 cup rice to about 2.5 cups boiling water. I'm gonna give it a quick little stir and a nice little salt. That's gonna help to ensure the rice is properly cooked and properly seasoned. I'm gonna reduce the heat down to a nice medium-low temperature to bring it down to a simmer and replace the lid. In the meantime, I'm gonna get started on the curry. So I do this kind of a wok style. I cook all the vegetables and the meat separately, and then I combine it at the end. So I just add a little olive oil to my pan here. You can use canola oil or soy oil, whatever you like. I still favor olive oil, even though it's an Asian dish. And I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 whole yellow pepper. And using a couple spoons here, I'm gonna quickly move these around the pan and spread them out so they get a little browning on them. And I'll toss them again after I see that the color has started to change. I'm starting to see a little bit of coloring on the extremities of some of the thinnest slices. That is beautiful. It's going to give a nice, rich, peppery flavor. Give it a couple more minutes of a toss here. And then I'm going to drop the peppers out of the pan back into the bowl from whence they came. And on to the next round. A couple more drops of oil in the pan. And then this time around, I'm going to be sauteing up some yams. I have about a half a yam here that I've cut into pretty little rounds. I thought these would look excellent with the beef and add a nice carroty flavor without all the carrot. Then I will spread them around the pan so that the rounds get even exposure to the heat and pick up a little bit of browning to add the flavor to the curry. Let's take a look at these and see how they're doing. Flip one over. Oh, that's nice. It's great, actually. Give these a little toss. Once one side is cooked, they're really pretty much cooked when they're sliced as thin as they are. So I'm just gonna give them a little toss here to coat them in the oil. And then return these to the bowl from whence they came. On to the next batch, our green beans. Add a little bit more oil into the pan here, just a little tiny bit at a time. And some fresh green beans that have been trimmed and cut to size. Give a little toss here. And the same story, let them sit, sear, toss, and pull. These guys are loving a little toss here. Oh, those look great. Nice coloring on those. The patience of letting them sit in the pan really pays off big time in the flavor. You should check on the rice and see how it's doing. Oh, good, it's just about done. Jasmine rice seems to respond really well to a little light fluffing right in its last couple minutes of cooking. Put the lid back on it and let it finish up doing its thing. In the meantime, it's on to the meat. Now with the meat, you just want to flash it. You don't really want to cook it all the way because it's going to finish cooking in the curry. So in one quick motion here, spread it out in the pan, give it that quick chance to sear off. Use a good quality beef for this. I'm actually using top sirloin steak. Flank steak would work well for this too. Little toss. And you just want to toss it till you see most all of the red fade out and be replaced by pink. That looks great. I'm going to get this off the heat. We're down to the final steps here of building a delicious curry. You know, as I was learning how to make curry, I had to let go of my instinct to saute everything together. The secret is to saute it all separately, wok style, and then blend it all in the last minute. Now what I've got here is garlic and onions and ginger. I'm gonna give these guys a little love. Move them across the surface of the pan quickly. Then I'm going to add my 8 ounces of coconut milk. And what I want to do is see this coconut milk reduce down just a little bit. Mix that together here. It's going to take on the flavor of the onions and the garlic and the ginger and concentrate the deliciousness of the coconut a little bit. And it's going to really thicken up and round out the flavor profile for the curry. So when I'm talking about concentrating the flavors, what I mean is to bring it up to a boil and then drop it down to a bit of a simmer just for a couple minutes so that some of the water cooks out. And we're just about there. I'm going to give it a little stir. Wow, that smells really good. I'm going to cook it in this manner until I see it coating the back of the spoon thicker than that. Let's see how we're looking here. Oh, look at that. Much better coating. Now I'm going to take this out of the pan, put it back into the bowl, and then we'll get the curry powder going. Going to get most of that coconut milk out of here. So when you're going to pick out your coconut milk, you want to think about picking out a canned coconut milk that has the least amount of ingredients possible. And also when you shake it, you really shouldn't hear it sloshing around. That's something that I've learned as I've gone on this curry journey. So now I'm going to drop a little teaspoon of butter or so in my hot pan here. I'm going to get it melting. And I'm going to make a quick little curry paste right here in the pan. Give it a little swirl here to expedite the melting here. And add 2 tablespoons of curry plus about a 1/4 teaspoon of chili sauce. And get that all sorts of loved up in the butter. This helps to really blossom the flavors of the curry since it's a combination of a lot of yummy spices. Something magic happens when you combine the curry with butter. For one, it helps to activate the turmeric, which has a lot of detoxifying and anti-inflammatory properties. Now, the flavor of the curry is going to depend on what color you're using. You can be all hardcore about it and look up a curry recipe if you like online and make it your own way, or you can buy it in the store. It comes typically in red, green, and yellow colors. The particular blend that I'm using was given to me by a friend who made it herself, and it's somewhere between green and yellow. It's delicious. You should smell the curry becoming very aromatic, and you might notice notes of cinnamon and spice in there. Once you see that it's all lumped up and it smells like it's driving you crazy, go ahead and start adding in the rest of the ingredients, starting with the coconut milk. Bring that in first. Give it a quick little loving stir to dissolve the curry into the coconut milk. Wow, isn't that fun? And then fold in the peppers, the yams, the green beans, and the beef. Work quickly here because you don't want to overcook the beef. Toss it. And then finish off the seasonings with a little bit of honey. This will help to enhance the sweetness of the coconut milk. Just leave that in there and let that melt off. A couple drops of soy sauce. A little bit of fish sauce. And a little bit of basil. Get that honey off the spoon. Quickly fold. Wow, that looks so good. Give it a little taste and adjust it as you see fit. That is heavenly. I'm gonna get this off the heat and get ready to plate. Scoop up some of this yummy rice. Love the way the jasmine rice goes with a curry. Nice big mound, because curry requires lots and lots of rice to soak up all the yumminess. Bring on this yumminess. These are ready to go on the table. Nice job! You just took your sweetie out for Thai food, but you did it in your own kitchen. So pair this up with a sweet red wine like a Zinfandel or a Merlot and call in your sweetie. And the apron is out. Honey? Hi, my love. Hi.
Ooh. Wow. This is delicious.
Taking you out for a night of Thai food. Smells good too, huh?
Oh, I've been smelling it all evening. It smells so good. Oh, wow. This is such a hot kitchen. Man, this is good.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun turning up the heat in your kitchen, and I'll see you next week. Night night. Pet the kitties.